The Minority Eye recently sat down with acclaimed filmmaker and playwright Gene Washington to talk about his partnership with South Carolina Uplift Community Outreach on an upcoming theatrical production entitled When the Fat Lady Sings. This play deviates from Washington's noted historical storytelling and his most commonly addressed topic of civil rights to tackle the issue of domestic violence. I caught up with Washington after a recent play rehearsal to find out how the idea for this theatrical production was birthed. Mr. Washington, how are you doing this evening?
I am north of magnificent, almost as great as you are, Michael.
Could you start off, for those who don't know you, and there's not many that don't, could you give us a quick resume of what you've done?
Artistically, I am a filmmaker and a playwright. I've written and produced, this will be my fifth stage play, and also I've written and produced 5 documentary films. One of the documentary films is entitled The Hallowed Halls. It is about those institutions that existed during the segregation era that, in spite of the inferior facilities, inferior supplies, entrenched racism, they produced great people of color. So I did that documentary film in 2012. Then in 2014, I did a documentary film entitled Freedom Ain't Free. And it was about those persons who paid astronomical personal costs for our liberties. And one of the stage plays that I did was the Majeska Simpkins story. I did that in 2001 at the Kirby Center for the Arts. And it told the magnificent story of Mrs. Majeska Simpkins, who was the matriarch of the civil rights movement in the state of South Carolina. So those are some of the works that I've done. And of course, I would like to think and say that I am a community servant. I don't want to say community spokesperson or advocate, but I am a community service, a long-time NAACPer. And then also, I have a 30-year commitment to the anti-domestic violence arena, having served on the board of directors with Sister Care. So that's a bit of my resume. Not quite as impressive as Michael Bailey's, but nevertheless, that's a short resume.
Now, you were, not too long ago, you were honored for your South Carolina legislature.
That is correct. That is correct. The Hallowed Halls received a citation from the South Carolina House of Representatives for the work that we did on that project. And so it told the great story about the Briggs versus Elliott plaintiffs. It told the great story of Mr. George Elmore and those persons, and we were honored at the State House. And so it was quite an honor, but I always salute those persons who made the story, not necessarily the guy who told the story.
And I guess you explained it, that you have spent some time on the board of
Sister Care.
Sister Care.
Correct.
Because my next question was going from almost a historian type of storyteller to now doing a different type of story. Tell us about that leap.
Okay, and this leap was all about, it is a mesh or a marrying of my community commitment to my artistic commitments. And that is, I have over 30-year commitment to the anti-domestic violence arena. And so I am a playwright and a filmmaker. So I decided to take a story about domestic violence and to breathe life into that story and actually to put it on stage. Thus, we are going to be premiering the story, which is entitled When the Fat Lady Sings. And that's going to happen on Saturday and Sunday, September 24 and 25, 3 p.m. at W.J. Keenan High School. And it is a story about a woman whose name is Florence. And Florence's life is a living hell. And Florence actually believes that her life is a living hell because of her physical weight. But she missed the mark. Florence's life is a living hell because of the weight of self-doubt, the weight of self-hatred, and the weight of domestic violence. And so we're going to tell this great story. And so it is a chance for people to come out and see the story of a make-believe person whose name was Florence. But I would venture to say that if 1 in every 3 or 1 in every 5 women have been affected by domestic violence, then there are going to be some real women in that audience whose name might be Mary, Sue, or Betty, who went through or who are going through the same thing as this fictitious character, which is called Florence. So we're going to do this play again September 24 and 25, and it came about because there is a great community nonprofit group called South Carolina Uplift Community Outreach Group. They partnered with Gene Washington Productions, and what they did, because they are a 501(c) nonprofit, they applied for and received a Richland County hospitality grant, and then as a result of that, I was then hired as the writer, the director, and executive producer. And so that's how some funding became possible for this particular play. So plays are quite expensive, and I thank South Carolina Uplift Community Outreach for having applied for and received a grant from the Richland County Hospitality grant to help fund this play. And Michael, let me say that I hope this is not the case, but if there are some people out there who think that they know what's going to happen in the play, that it's going to be goody two-shoes, I'd say, no, you don't have an idea of what's going to happen. This play has more twists and turns that you can even imagine. And so even if you don't care anything about domestic violence, and I hope that's not the case, if you just want to see some good, just great actors and great storytelling, the place to be is W.J. Keenan High School, 24 and 25 of September, 3 p.m., When the Fat Lady Sings. And the title is very telling. And the character is what I call a full-figured woman, and she meets a husband who is a great husband, and he then resolves to being a horrible husband. And I'm not going to tell you how he went from being a great husband to a horrible husband, because you got to come to see the story. But when he becomes a horrible husband, he began to demean and abase her by telling her on a daily basis that you're stupid, you're ugly, I don't want you, no one else wants you, and you're fat. And she actually starts to believe that. And as a man or a woman think, so is he, so is she. And so she actually becomes this sorry and pitiful figure because she begins to ingest this mental poison, if you would. And so she actually started to believe that her life is hell because of her physical weight. But no. It's the weights of self-doubt, the weight of self-hatred, and the weight of domestic violence. And so we invite the general public to come and see it. And you can contact me at 803-786-1051 to get information how you can get tickets. You can go to my website, www.GENE-WashingtonProductions.com. Get additional information, and also you can purchase tickets online. But it is a must-see story, When the Fat Lady Sings.
Okay. Mr. Washington, thank you for taking time to sit down with me.
Thank you for having me.